This is the Powell Logistics case study by Jasmine Stokey, Brittany Barnes, Corinne Hem, and Nick Baston. I will start out by giving a little background information on Powell Logistics. Powell Logistics was founded in 1979 in Ontario, Canada by John Powell. John spent the majority of his career in the trucking industry and decided to establish this brokering service between shippers in Ontario for local and international carriers. Powell expanded with 4 hire motor carriers in 1983 when the company purchased its first truck. The customer base has grown at a steady rate over the years, and the company has developed great relationships with a variety of Canadian and North American carriers where they are fully licensed to carry freight. Powell Logistics focuses primarily on less-than-load offerings as their main strategy to capitalize on higher margins that are associated with this service. Powell also relies heavily on the company's extensive trucking experience and advanced technology. John Powell started this company as a means to provide an income for his family and to just put some food on the table. He did not have any intentions on owning a large and majorly successful trucking company one day. All 3 of his children worked for the company, making it a family affair. Frank, the eldest son, has been working for Powell Logistics since 1987, and he is the Executive Vice President of Operations. One of his responsibilities is making the daily decisions regarding the warehouse and the fleets. John's second child, Ryan, began with the company in 1984 as their national sales manager. Neither one of his sons had any formal business training before they began their career at their father's company, but they have been successful due to all of their hands-on experiences. Sarah, John's third child, has been with Powell Logistics since 1999, and her main responsibility is developing company policies in the Human Resources Department. After 50 years in the industry, Powell began to debate his options for the future of the company. John Powell had faced some company challenges. The industry is facing a shortage of qualified drivers. The cost of fuel drastically increased due to the supply of oil, and the rise in value of the Canadian dollar relative to the US dollar hurt Canadian manufacturing. This left John with 3 options. He could either consolidate the company, sell the company, or pass the company on to one of his children. The first option discusses the idea of consolidating the different aspects of the company under one roof. At the point of time the article was written, Powell Logistics was operating from multiple locations, including a warehouse that is rented by the company. The truckers of this company are having to travel 2 miles from the main office each day, once in the morning and then again at the end of the day, creating a lot of extra time for the truckers to have to pack and load up before transporting at the end of their shift. Since it causes the drivers to go overtime each day by 30 minutes, it makes sense to consolidate both locations into one large headquarters. As an employer of 80 drivers, it is important for them to be as efficient as possible. The building and land would end up costing the company around $10 million, but it would also save the company around $60,000 annually due to the removal of the duplicate administrative positions. This slide shows our loan calculator for consolidating the company. The total cost for consolidating the company would be around $8.7 million. Powell Logistics will have to take out a $5 million loan to cover the $2 million in land and the $3 million in construction. So we took a 25-year loan term, which seemed to be the average term, with an interest rate of 5%. Their payment every month would be $28,900, with a total of 300 payments and an interest of over $3 million. their annual loan payment would be $346,883. With our calculations, we've made the assumptions that there are 52 weeks in a year, 5 workdays per week, and 260 workdays per year. In order to determine if consolidating the company is financially viable, we had to calculate the annual savings it would create by creating one facility. First, Powell Logistics would save $60,000 annually in administration costs. For the labor and fuel cost savings, we calculated these numbers under the workday assumptions from the previous slide. For the labor cost savings, we calculated the daily overtime costs for each driver for the 30 minutes they spent before and after their shifts. Each driver gets paid at a rate of $27 an hour, so 30 minutes per day is $13.50 in overtime per driver. Since Powell Logistics employs 80 drivers, the total daily overtime is $1,080, or an annual cost of $280,800. To calculate the fuel cost savings, we took the distance between the warehouse and the central office and multiplied it by 2, since each driver has these additional trips twice per day. The case study provided the current fuel cost. In order to keep the measurements consistent, we used kilometers over liters and got 2.8 kilometers over liters. Each day, Powell Logistics uses around 2.3 liters in fuel per truck during these additional trips, and it costs them $2.15 a day. The total cost per day was calculated by multiplying the 80 drivers. This comes out to be $171.89 a day, or over $44,000 annually. Two more savings that Powell Logistics will benefit from option 1 is savings in rent from the 2 facilities and depreciation savings. In order to calculate these, we had to make a few assumptions. To calculate the savings on rent, we assumed that the rent will cost 2.4% of total sales from 2006 to 2010. So as you can see in the red column on the right, we didn't have any savings in 2008, and in 2009 and 2010 it was over $600,000. To calculate the depreciation cost savings, we assumed that depreciation will occur over the life of the loan and that the cost of depreciation will have an annual rise in 0.2% each year between 2006 and 2010. So again, as you see in the far right column, in 2008 we didn't save anything, but in 2009 and 2010 we saved over $300,000. Consolidating the warehouse and headquarters will result in an annual savings of nearly $1 million by 2009 and $1.13 million in 2010. Directly, the company will be able to cut down on annual fuel savings, which acts as a countermeasure to the growing fuel costs with this option. Powell Logistics will also be able to cut the overhead costs, administration wages, and rent in half, since there will not be a need for as many upper management in one consolidated building. If the average growth in revenue remains the same in the future, Powell Logistics will continue to save more money each year with the expansion, and the money saved from this consolidation can be used to pay off the loan payment. While things like the increased gas prices could harm the company in the future, the consolidation does cut down on the annual fuel costs for the company. This option does have some potential risks associated with it, simply because there's no way to determine things such as an economic downturn with the information provided, but is the only option that saves the company money within 2 years of the expansion. Although a loan is needed for the consolidation, it is the most supportable positive benefits for the company. The second option facing Powell Logistics is the idea of selling the company to an outside competitor. After piquing the interest of Mr. Powell about the price of his company, he decided to look into it. So after this, he faced the option of either selling right now as is, or the other option could consolidate the business by building the new building and then selling it. Taking the loan and paying for it wouldn't actually help the company until 2010, so that wouldn't actually be beneficial to the Powells or the business if they chose to sell. So in this theory, the Powells should just sell the business before the consolidation happens. Here we are seeing the calculation of selling after consolidation. The red numbers indicate decreasing payments, and there is not enough data that suggests this option is beneficial to the company. Here we are looking at selling before consolidation. As the company stands now, the stockholders' equity equals a little over $1 million. Selling a company for the known worth of $1 million in a $43 billion industry is too small of an amount to even consider. Although selling the company without expansion will allow Powell to ease into retirement, it will also put his 3 children at risk in terms of their own jobs. Normally, when a company is sold, major changes occur within organizations, such as changes in leadership and how money is spent. More than likely, the company will shift from being a family-owned business to a more business-oriented company. As stated in the case study, Powell's main goal is to provide for his family. Selling his company offers only a one-time payment and is a potential risk to his children's positions in the company. Because of this, selling the company seems to be more counterproductive in relation to Powell's desire to effectively support his family. Furthermore, there is a high level of uncertainty with this choice because there's not enough data given to calculate the company's selling value or when the company will profit from the expansion to sell it. Option 3 presents passing on the company to one of his children. John Powell has 2 considerations. Should he pass the company to his children with the economy's current turbulent state? And if so, which child would be best suited for running the company? We'll start with Frank. Frank worked at Powell Logistics since 1987. He's the Executive VP of Operations. He is also responsible for the day-to-day operations of truck fleet and off-site warehouse. He has had no formal business training, but he has had years of hands-on experience. The next is Sarah Powell. She was a school teacher before beginning work at Powell Logistics in 1999. She is the head of Human Resource Department, and she is responsible for decisions regarding employment and administration expenditures. And lastly, we have Ryan. Ryan worked at Powell Logistics since 1984. He is their national sales manager. He is responsible for maintaining customer relationships and negotiating prices. He also has had no formal business training, but he has built a large customer network. With that said, all 3 of his children lack the direct experience and years of accumulated knowledge like their father. But the most valuable predecessor would be Frank Powell because he has the most relevant experience. The same level of uncertainty presented in option 1 is present in this option 2, which leaves John to decide if he wants to risk having to put one of his children through financial burdens and stress of owning a company. In conclusion, we decided the best option would be option 1. In option 2, while selling the company without consolidation will allow John to ride into retirement, selling the company puts his children's jobs at risk. Selling the company after consolidation does not break even at the selling point of 2010. With option 3, Frank Powell would be the best successor to the company because of his experience in operations management. While Ryan and Sarah both have experience working with the company, Frank has the most relevant work experience. We went with option 1 because while he needs to take out a loan, this option has the least financial and personal risk because it saves the company money and has equivalent, if not less, future uncertainty than the other options. It cannot be determined exactly what will happen in the future, but this option has a strong positive savings trend, and it is likely this trend will continue in the future. The other options present more potential risk, and this option has the most supporting data. And that is the end of the Powell Logistics case study by Jasmine Stokey, Brittany Barnes, Corinne Him, and Nick Baston. Thank you.